Hello, and today's purpose of the day is I can factor and solve quadratic equations. So a quadratic equation is an equation with a degree of 2. So today we're going to look at ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, and we're actually not going to look at ax squared until the next lesson, but we will look at x squared plus bx plus c equals 0 and equations in that form. So let's review. If we go back to multiplying binomials, FOILing, or using the box method, let's remind ourselves what we get for solutions here when we multiply these four problems together. So x plus 4 times x plus 6, and again, if we can try to get quicker at some mental math, we don't have to show our work. This is x squared plus 10x plus 24. Now if I take x minus 4 times x plus 6, I get x squared plus 2x minus 24. If I look at number 3, x plus 4 times x minus 6, I get x squared minus 2x minus 24. And last, x minus 4 times x minus 6, if I multiply those together, I get x squared minus 10x plus 24. So as you can see, all four are somewhat similar. Their middle terms might be slightly different, and their last term of 24 is either positive 24 or negative 24, but the pattern that we notice is what? The middle term is a blank, and the last term is a blank. Do you know what words we could put in for those empty spaces? Yeah, so the middle term, again, we get 10x or 2x or negative 10 or negative 2. So between 4 and 6, we either get 10 or negative 10, 2 or negative 2. So that is a sum. So we add together 4 and 6, or negative 4 and 6, 4 and negative 6, or negative 4 and negative 6, and we get our middle term. So that's a sum. The last term we get either 24 or negative 24 from 4 and 6, or negative 4 and negative 6. So to get 24, we take the 4 and 6 and we multiply, so the last term is a product. So that's going to help us today when we work backwards and we try to figure out what are the factors of our trinomial or our end result. So today is all about working backwards. So our first task is to factor x squared plus bx plus c, because today a is just 1. So we're going to do what's called, or using, a diamond problem. So this is where we're going to draw an x, and the reason it's called a diamond problem is because we could connect all of these four parts and make a diamond, or like a sideways square, or some call it even like a kite. So that's a diamond problem. Again, it's because I can connect all four numbers that I'll fill in and make a diamond. So here's how we would do this. We are going to draw an x, and what goes in the top spot is c, and what goes in the bottom spot is b. Now let's kind of recap. What is a, what is b, and what is c? And then that will kind of help fill in our diamond. So here, a is in front of x squared, and there is nothing in front of x squared. So that's right now is just 1, so a equals 1. What's in front of x, or my middle term, is what's called b. So we'll say b equals 7. And our last term without any variable is always our c term. So here, that equals 12. So a is 1, b is 7, and c is 12. So to fill in our diamond, c, or the last term in our trinomial without a variable, goes on top. So that would be here a 12. What goes on bottom is b, or the middle term in front of x. So that's 7. Now here's how we will solve this problem. So we want to factor x squared plus 7x plus 12. So we have to ask ourselves what multiplies to be 12, but at the same time adds to be a 7. And you do have to look at the signs. This is a positive 12 and a positive 7. So it multiplies to be 12, but at the same time adds up to be 7. Well, you could start listing the factors of 12, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. But hopefully eventually it kind of comes to you that if we multiply 3 and 4, that will give us 12, but at the same time, that will also add up to be 7. So on the sides here, I'll write 3 and 4, and those are our factors that multiply to be 12, but add up to be 7. So when I write my answer, I write x in the first spot of my binomial, and then x, and then one of my factors, and my other factor in the other binomial, and they're both positive, a positive 3 and positive 4. So I get x plus 3 times the quantity x plus 4. And it doesn't matter what order I write them. I could write them x plus 4 times x plus 3. That doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is, did I get the right answers? And if I go back and FOIL these or use the box method to multiply them back, I will in fact get x squared plus 7x plus 12. Let's check it. X times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 4 is 12. Put together my middle terms, and I get x squared plus 7x plus 12, so it in fact did work out. So we are right. I'm just going to erase that so I have some more room. So let's try number 2. And the diamond's already set up, so x squared minus 12x plus 27. So 27 goes on the top, negative 12 goes on the bottom, and now I have to ask myself, what are factors that multiply to be 27, but at the same time add up to be negative 12? Well, I know 9 times 3 gives me 27, but I need the right signs. 9 and the 3 have to add up to be negative 12, but multiply to be 27. So they both have to be negative in order to get a positive 27 when they are multiplied, and to add up to be negative 12. So when I write down my factors, I get x minus 9 times x minus 3. All right, let's look at this third example, x squared plus 3x minus 18. So again, negative 18 will go on top because that's my last term. 3 will go on the bottom because that's b, what's in front of x. And now you ask yourself, what are the factors of negative 18 that when added together give me 3? Well, that would be a 6 and a negative 3. So then my factors here would be x plus 6 times x minus 3. And again, if you're struggling to find the factors right away, you could always list them out off to the side and write down, 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6, and eventually when you find all your factors, you'll be able to figure out what signs you need in order to multiply to be a certain product and add up to be a certain sum. So another method, method 2, to factor would just be to list the factors and guess and check. So we want to factor x squared plus 6x minus 16. So if setting up that diamond problem didn't necessarily work for you, we can just list the factors and do guess and check. So factors of negative 16, again, that need to be multiplied to be negative 16, are negative 4 and 4, or negative 2 and 8, negative 8 and 2, or negative 16 and 1, or negative 1 and 16. And now if I find the sum of those, well, negative 4 and 4 give me 0, negative 2 and 8 give me 6, negative 8 and 2 give me negative 6, negative 15, and then this would be 15. So they had to multiply to be negative 16, but add up to be 6. So where's the winner? Boom, right here. So then if I were to use these as the factors, my factored form here would be x minus 2 times x plus 8, and that would give me x squared plus 6x minus 16. Now this is a great method just to list the factors and guess and check, but it also sometimes takes a little bit longer because you're writing out all the factors instead of just thinking about the ones that would perhaps multiply to be a certain product and add up to be a certain sum. But whatever method works better for you, you certainly can use. A little summary to help with factoring x squared plus bx plus c is that when c is positive, so the last term in that trinomial, both factors will have the same sign. And you'll get to notice this as the more examples you go through and the more factoring that you complete. When c is negative, the factors will have different signs. And that's because you need one that's a positive and one that's a negative. And then the factor with the greater absolute value has the same sign as b. And if these couple hints help you with factoring to be a little bit more efficient with them, please use them. If these aren't really applicable to you and you don't really notice some of these things, you just like to complete the problems as you go, then that also works. But hopefully this maybe can help with a little bit. Now we're going to look at task number 2, solving. So we want to solve x squared plus 2x equals 15, and the process is written over at the right-hand side. So the process is we are going to first set our equation equal to 0. Then we will factor, then we will use the zero product property, and then we will solve, and we can always check our answers when we're done. So as I look at this equation is not equal to 0. I need to move the 15 over to the other side to get this equation equal to 0. So I get x squared negative 2 or plus 2x minus 15 equals 0. So here now I have a trinomial and I want to factor this. So I'm going to use the diamond method. And the diamond method now is what we're using because there's no GCF we could take out. And I maybe didn't say this on the last couple slides, but there's no GCF to take out, so we can't use taking out the GCF and undistributing. We can't use factor by grouping because we don't have 4 terms. So this is another method that we can use to factor a trinomial, and these are a lot of the types of problems that we're going to see from here on out in Chapter 8. So now I'll factor this, and I want factors of negative 15 that when added together give me 2. And those factors are 5 and negative 3. So my factors, if I write those out, are x plus 5 times the quantity x minus 3 equals 0. So I've set my equation equal to 0, I've factored, and now here comes the zero product property. So I'm going to set both factors equal to 0 and solve. And then my first solution I get of negative 5, and my second solution I get is 3. And so by using the zero product property, now I've just solved this equation and I have both of my answers. So my solutions here are negative 5 and positive 3. And if I wanted to check my answer to make sure that it worked, I could do that. So if I plug 3 back in, let's say I want to plug 3 in. 3 squared is 9, plus 2 times 3 is 6. Does that equal 15? It does. So we know that we're right. So it's always a good idea to get your answers and plug them back in to make sure that they work. So again, on task number 2, solving, we don't do a whole lot different than what we did for factoring trinomials, but we just do a couple extra steps by using the zero product property and then solving, so you're actually getting solutions. So you're not leaving your answer in parenthesis or factored form. You are actually putting your answer in bracket form and you're getting 2 solutions. And again, that's because we have a quadratic and the degree on quadratics is 2, so that should help when you're solving to make sure that you get 2 solutions. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.